Here's white versus the Sicilian, lesson 13. This is Leko versus Rajabov. E4, C5, knight F3, knight C6, D4, C takes D4, knight takes D4, knight F6, knight C3, E5, knight D B5, D6, bishop G5, A6, knight A3, B5, knight D5, bishop E7, bishop takes F6, bishop takes F6, C3, kingside castle. The most natural move. Black castles with a view to gaining counterplay against E4 and along the F-file with an eventual F7 to F5. Knight C2. Bishop G5. A4. All is outlined in the discussion at the beginning of the chapter. B takes A4. Rook takes A4. A5. Black advances his isolated pawn before white has a chance to tie the A8 rook down to it with a move like B4, after which a subsequent A6, A5 could be met with B4 to B5, when white has a strong passed pawn. Bishop C4. As well as exposing black's remaining queenside pawn to attack, removing the barrier on B5 has won back this important square for the bishop. Rook B8. B3. The most solid move, after which the bishop on C4 and pawn on B3 are mutually defended. King H8. Black wants to play F7 to F5 in the future, but first of all he has to make sure that there is no discovered attack on his king by a bishop on C4. Knight CE3. The knight has completed its journey from the backwoods of A3 to respectable centralization. Bishop E6. Black has no wish to hand over his light-squared bishop for a knight, after a move like F5, knight takes F5, bishop takes F5, pawn takes F5, rook takes F5. When white kingside castling is a definite plus for white. Therefore, he develops a scheme of G7 to G6 and then F7 to F5 in mind. Let's go back to here. Bishop E6. H4. Leko begins a highly interesting plan of attack on the black king. Bishop F4. Now why not bishop takes F4. Queen to H5, G5, G3, when the bishop dare not move on pain of mate. Now a move like bishop takes E3, knight takes E3, bishop takes C4 gives white the pleasant choice between rook takes C4 and knight takes C4 with a light square bind. Bishop F4. Knight F5. G6. The white knight must be driven away from a dominant square so near the black king. Knight F E3. Back again, but white can well be satisfied to have provoked black's last move, which provides a hook for an attack down the H-file with H4 H5. King G7. Now, let's say black had played h5 instead. Leko may have changed tactics with g3 in order to guard h4. Black would play bishop h6 and then castle. Then black's plan of f7, f5, f to f5 is difficult to implement, as after e4 takes f5, recapturing g6 takes f5 drops the h6 pawn. While as we saw on the note a few moves back, for black's 17th move of bishop to e6, Rajabov had no wish to recapture with bishop takes f5 to hand over his light squared bishop after knight takes f5. On the other hand, if black avoided f7 to f5 altogether, he would have no constructive plan, in which case white could methodically increase the pressure against d6 or on the queen side. Black plays here king g7.